The president went on another one of his early morning Twitter rampages this morning, and much like a drive-time radio DJ, he ranted a bunch, played some of the old hits that the fans can't get enough of, and debuted an all-new bit. There was this new spin on the classic rail against the free press tweet, quote, "I just cannot state strongly enough how totally dishonest much of the media is. Truth doesn't matter to them. They only have their hatred and agenda. This includes fake books, which come out about me all the time, always anonymous sources, and are pure fiction, enemy of the people." Yes, now books are fake too, according to the president. And as Maggie Haberman mused on Twitter, you have to wonder if the president has some anxiety about the upcoming book from Bob Woodward. So in a tweet avalanche, the president ranted about all the usual suspects, including CNN, and then he came out with this new bit. All right, what's going on at CNN is happening to different degrees at other networks, with NBC News being the worst. The good news is that Andy Lack is about to be fired for incompetence, and much worse. Listen to this. When Lester Holt got caught fudging my tape on Russia, they were hurt badly. Now, we're not even going to dignify the first part of that, but keeping them honest, Lester Holt did not get caught fudging his tape on Russia. The president is referring to the now infamous interview he did shortly after he fired James Comey, in which he admitted on camera to Lester Holt that in part he fired James Comey because of the Russia investigation. Watch.
Oh, I was going to fire regardless of recommendation.
So there was really
he made a recommendation. He's highly respected, very good guy, very smart guy. The Democrats like him, the Republicans like him. He made a recommendation, but regardless of recommendation, I was going to fire Comey, knowing there was no good time to do it. And in fact, when I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
So now, more than a year later, the president says Lester Holt fudged the tape. There's, of course, no evidence of any fudging. I repeat, no fudging. For the part that is potentially damning, the president is on camera in the middle of a sentence, no cutaways, no edits. Add to that the fact that an extended version of the interview has been on the NBC News website since May 11, 2017. But for this president and for some of his followers, evidence just doesn't matter. All that matters is what the president says, no matter how many times he lies, contradicts himself, or simply makes things up. It all seems to be part of his pattern of trying to discredit words that he doesn't think are good for him, even if they came out of his own mouth. He's doing it now. He did it with the Access Hollywood tape when he bragged about sexually assaulting women. When it came out, he apologized for using what he called locker room talk. Then more than a year later, he started suggesting to people, including at least one senator, that it wasn't even his voice on the tape. And now what he wants you to believe, what Lester Holt said on camera, was somehow fudged. Let's not forget, he flat out instructed his followers on this just a month ago. Don't believe your own eyes and ears.
Just stick with us. Don't believe the crap you see from these people, the fake news.
And just remember, what you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening.
Keeping them honest, what you're seeing and what you're reading is happening. No matter how many times the president says you shouldn't believe even actual footage of him talking or books. We'll take it back to the radio analogy, and in the words of Radiohead, this is really happening. Joining me now, CNN Global Affairs analyst and Washington Post columnist Max Boot. So Max, we just heard the president say what you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening. So for him, once again, he's attempting to discredit a recording of himself.
Right, John. I would say that Donald Trump is revealing himself to be a Marxist, not Karl Marx, Groucho Marx, who said, who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes? And clearly he wants his followers to believe him rather than their own eyes. I mean, saying that what you can see him saying on tape is not true. I mean, this is taking it to a whole new level. This is basically denying reality in the way that authoritarian dictators always try to do with their followers, and to just rewrite the script.
Any guess about why he might be doing it now? Why he might be choosing to say that this tape where he talks about Russia being a reason for firing James Comey, why he's saying he didn't say it?
Yeah, why he might want to explain away a tape on which he confessed obstruction of justice. You know, the only issue really is, why is it taking him so long to try to make these kinds of ludicrous claims? I mean, I think what you see with the president is really getting worse because the facts are turning against him so markedly. I mean, last week, remember, We can't forget this. His own attorney implicated him in 2 federal crimes. And as a result of that, you see a spike in his tweets about the so-called rigged witch hunt. He is feeling the heat, and so he is lashing out. And because the facts are so unfavorable to him, he is trying to challenge the very validity of the facts and of reality itself, and complaining yesterday, why is Google producing search results that aren't all about pro-Trump? Because the news is not pro-Trump, and he can't handle it.
Matt, while you're here, I do want to ask you about something the president told Bloomberg about North Korea, and I'm going to read this right now. I'm seeing it just for the first time. He said he can be patient with Kim Jong-un, that, quote, I have greater patience than any human being in the world. People don't understand that about me. Do you think that having patience with Kim is the right path here?
No, American presidents have had patience with North Korean dictators going back to the 1990s, and they've been hornswoggled at every turn. Donald Trump promised that was not going to happen to him, but it has. I mean, he is basically, John, in the position of somebody who spiked the ball on the 50-yard line, and now he doesn't know what to do. Does he pretend that he scored a touchdown, or does he go back to work and try to move the ball down the field? And you see both of those impulses kind of at war with one another.
He's sort of saying there's a field goal. He says, you've had no missile testing, you've had no rocket testing,
right.
We got back our hostages, there have been no nuclear tests, and that's pretty good.
Right, but remember what he said immediately after he got back from Singapore. He said, there is no longer a nuclear threat from North Korea. And that is just nonsense, because everything that we've learned since then is that North Korea is actually expanding their nuclear program, expanding their missile program. They're not dismantling it. And that's the reality he's dealing with. That's why last week he told Mike Pompeo not to go to Pyongyang, because the North Koreans were not delivering. But at the same time, as he's admitting that the deal that he agreed to is basically falling apart and is meaningless, at the same time, he's trying to pretend that he still has a great relationship with Kim Jong-un. Everything is going just great. So you have these competing impulses at war with one another in almost everything that he says.
Max Boot, great to have you with us. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Delighted to be here.